All right. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Me, YR, our Arknloia Stroke of Bean are live on Music Maniax here. We're trying to get a hold of Keith to get on the call here and he'll be a part of our show, but we have been having lots of trouble there. And Brian, who is Keith's buddy, I contacted him briefly before we went live here, and I just, I don't know if he's trying to get a hold of the guy or what the heck is going on there, but at least he could have been a lot more respectable with his words there. And let me say that there. Because when I was asking, do you have key? He was like, no, why should I have this or why should I have that? That was not cool, you know?
When?
Just a moment ago, a few minutes ago there, when I started that music, when started that group there.
You talked to him?
Yes, exactly. The music show.
What'd you say? What'd he say?
Well, he said something about, oh, how am I supposed to know where Keith is at this time? He did it in a very aggressive tone there, so that was not cool there. And he just left the call there a long while back before we went live here. So we'll try again to get Keith on the call there. But in the meantime, before we continue our subject of the 1980s, as you all know, Gary Rossington, the guitarist, founder, and last remaining original member in the lineup of Leonard Skinner, passed away this past Sunday at the age of 71. And, other than Rossington, there was the only other original member that's still remaining is their ex-drummer, Artemis Pyle. Now, Pyle has not been involved in any Skinner shows or anything for how many years there. He did come back when the band reunited back in 1987 there, when it was, I guess, the anniversary of the plane crash that took three of their members, Steve Gaines, Ronnie Van Zant, and backup singer Cassie Gaines. And I guess all the other original members have passed on. For example, Alan Collins died in 1986. We lost bass player Leon Wilkeson.
Technically,
Hmm?
technically there's a.
Hmm?
Let me try to remember the instrument he played, but technically in the group, still might be might be the keyboardist.
Billy Powell. He was their
Is he,
piano player. He
is he one of
passed.
the original?
Good, yeah?
Or did he? Well, no, there's one now on the current that it might be the keyboardist. I'm not that sure, but that's technically still touring, but he's not as big as a name.
Not as big
Some,
as the name. Let me look up there. Let me see here. Let me look this up here so I
but
can
when you're
give it.
at concerts, they make it clear that this is a tribute to
Leonard
Leonard
Skinner, yeah.
Skinner. That it's no, like they all pretty much died in that plane crash. So
Well,
they'll keep going on because the guitarist still wasn't on every show. Because they're fixing to tour with ZZ Top, and they
yeah.
weren't. The guitarist was like, what's his name on Foreigner? Like
hmm
he only certain appearances. He didn't tour with him all the time.
That's true there.
Essentially, that's what Foreigner
Mick
was. Is
Jones, yeah.
pretty much a tribute band. So they still sell. Like Leonard Skinner's still gonna sell the tickets and still gonna tour
Okay.
without the
Yeah,
guitar.
isn't Ronnie Van Zant's brother still the singer?
You mean his wife, Dale?
No, lead singer.
Well, you mean yeah? Oh, you mean talk. I thought he was talking about Gary Rossington. I was looking up current members of Leonard Skinner touring at the moment. Johnny Van Zandt, who is the brother of Ronnie Van Zandt, he's still the front person, but he's
Well,
not the
that's what
original.
I ask.
Yeah, he is exactly. Let's see here. The current lineup features guitarist and vocalist Ricky Medlock from Blackfoot. He's been involved since 1996. Current vocalist Johnny Van Zandt since 1987. Drummer Michael Cartellone since 1999. Guitarist Marco Matt DeKita, if that's how it's pronounced, since 2006. Keyboard player Peter Keys since 2009. bassist Keith Christopher since 2017. And you also have two backup singers, Dale
Hmm.
Clance Rossington, who is the wife of Gary Rossington, and Carol Chase.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When I
Now,
saw them, and I don't remember exactly when it was,
mhm,
uh, they had a microphone in the center with Ronnie Van Zant's scarf on it to kind of
mhm,
signify
a tribute to
him.
him. You know, they
Right.
did, you know, there was, Charlie Danny used to host this yearly volunteer jam. And members of Leonard Skinner, prior to them getting back together, did this little thing here. They got back together. They did some of the jamming on some songs there, and for some reason, as a homage, they focused a single light on the microphone stand, and of course, you know, there was not a dry eye afterwards when that occurred there. So that was definitely a
Yeah.
homage to definitely Ronnie there after what happened.
Yeah. When
Now,
I saw him, Huey Thomason was one of their guitar players who
yeah,
used to be with the Outlaws,
exactly.
and he's since passed also.
Wow, really? I never knew that. And so is, by the way, so is Ed King, Billy Powell. You know, as I mentioned, Alan Collins. He died, I guess, in 1986 in an auto wreck there. And they're like, oh, I don't know. No, it was an auto wreck that left him paralyzed. Apparently, he was high as a kite there.
Mm,
And apparently, he got into this auto wreck where he was now wheelchair bound to his death.
mm.
And he's been dead since I guess for somewhere in the 1990s there. Now, for what I understand, they got this gig here in Florida. I guess it's called the Strawberry Fest. I guess it's called there. I don't know much about it. I heard about this last night because
Oh,
when again, I should go.
I saw ZZ Top. This is probably, I mean, before Dusty Hill's death, probably 2014, 2015. They opened for Jimmy Buffett. I was
Mm-hmm.
like 4 rows back, and
Wow,
it sounded just like, I mean, it sounded great live.
that's
All
it.
live, too. No backing track. I mean, all 100% live. And
Mm-hmm.
Frank Beard was smoking cigarettes. That was pretty cool, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like normally inside venues,
Mm-hmm.
smoke cigarettes, but the artist can do whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
But
know, yeah,
great, great concert. And they're still touring. I mean, they're doing with this
yeah,
this guitar tech guy is taking the place at Dusty Hill. But
yeah.
for the most part, in most of the ZZ Top songs, was it? Would you say it was? I'm drawing a blank. Not Dusty Hill.
The current guy,
Gibbons.
Gibbons, Billy
Billy
Gibbons.
Gibbons. Yeah, the singer
He
guitar
he did
player.
most of the vocals in the songs. Billy Gibbons, you would say.
Pretty much, yeah.
See, I met Billy Gibbons. This was probably 2000, 2001. So I
Mm.
was probably like 10 or 11. But I went to Atlanta, Georgia, for like kind of vacation type deal. And I don't remember what airport it was. It was either at the Houston airport or the Atlanta airport. It might have been Houston, but when you're in an airport, you're walking, they have like bars, or like some of them have Chili's, like restaurants and stuff.
Right.
So like we looked over, and Billy Gibbons was in like this bar, and you could recognize it, you could tell.
Yep.
So being a kid, I mean, I went up to him, I was like 10, and asked for his autograph, and he had these pre-made little papers, basically for autographs, like it was like
Ah,
a black and white cartoon of the band,
I see
and
there. I
like
know.
already, like he fit in his
That,
wallet. He
that's pretty
pulls out,
cool.
Nice.
yeah. I mean, I lost that paper, and God knows where it is, but still have that memory. I mean, that was back when there was no camera phones or no cell phones with cameras at that point, so it wasn't. You just really look for the autograph, and it was really cool. I mean, he's a regular guy. He obviously flew not private if he's in the airport waiting. You know what I'm saying, like that. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I
Down
never
home.
memory I'll never forget. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. That's good to hear. Now, I got to mention this. The current bass player that they have filled in for Dusty Hill's shoes there. I think I sent you guys in the sent you the wire the 17 string bass guitar that he plays.
Yes, I see that. Yeah.
Damn, how much steroids do you need to hold that thing, let alone play it? That's
Well,
a
that's
big
Well,
ass
probably
Rick
guitar.
Rick
being a
Nielsen
guitar.
of Cheap Trick used to have like a
Five,
seven-headed
actually,
guitar.
so
Well,
yes,
being
actually a five. I know the guitar you're talking about. It was made by Hammer Guitars, and
yeah.
it's like a five necks. Five neck guitar. That's probably one of the iconic guitars that Nielsen has had, other than the guitar which he had, double neck guitar shaped like him, a cartoon version of himself there that he had
And
custom
probably
made.
a lot of the guitar techs around. They probably know how to build guitars too, so that guy probably built it
Oh yeah.
himself. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But on the we're gonna finish up on this, but also the big news,
Hmm.
Brown. If you want to look it up on the Kiss coming on Howard Stern show last week
Yeah, I think I'm
interview,
missing. Okay, there.
and that they announced basically their last shows are going to be at the end of the year in Madison Square Garden, New York
Yeah,
City.
yeah. We touched that on the last episode there, and it's after this, it's going to be all done, for what I understand, if that's true there, because they did this before a couple of times.
I mean, yeah, but like, what do you like? They are like really old. They're
Yeah.
like in the 70s and everything, but like you have Ace still doing solo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Chris is kind of out of the mix, but like, what makes you think they're not gonna do like come in with the 80s stuff, Unmasked, and start doing Kiss Unmasked? But like, they are old and everything, and the coming in the next 10 years, 20 years, what are these bands going to do? What happens with bands? No band really ever,
Stays are broken up for sure
well,
there.
no band really ever leaves or quits.
That's true there.
Like,
But
they
Leonard
never,
Skinner's a good example of that.
Or the Who.
they're going to morph. The point I'm trying to make is all these bands with these names, the big name, like the name of the band, which is like the seller. When you see that on a paper to go to a concert, you see the name, you see the emblem. They're going to switch out members. They're going to, just like this John Five thing and Motley Crue. They're going to, I mean, Nikki Sixx was talking about earlier this week that they want to plan, he wants to plan to go another 10 years to 2032 or something when it's the 50th anniversary of Motley Crue. So, like, they're going to start, older members are going to start retiring, but they're going to be replaced. And, like, the music's still going to live on live. Like, yeah, Black Sabbath, they kind of are probably never going to come back again, right?
Most
But,
likely, yeah.
but there's very few and far between. I mean, even Deep Purple's still going. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not all original, but they're still.
They're still
Or
There's a
any
lot
of
of
them
bands.
original.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bands out there. Like, that'd be a good show topic one day.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, Brown. But like, even, I mean, why not like I mean, what about? I know the band, but I don't know them that well. Rolling Stones. How original are they at this point? Do y'all know?
Not that original. I mean, Bill Wyman, the original bass
Jag-
player, he retired ages ago.
I
Charlie
think Jagger and Richards are the only two originals.
Exactly there, and of course Ron Wood, he's still a member, but he's not the original
He's not an
member.
original.
Exactly, he joined. He didn't join it until about 1976 or 77 there.
Before
I
him,
mean,
was
it just
Mick Taylor and
depends.
Brian Jones.
Hmm.
It depends on what bands like. I mean, look at Queen
Yeah,
with Adam Lambert and stuff. So, I mean, the important thing for me is like the singer, like that voice, and
yeah,
bands like Queensryche, they got it down.
that's
Jeff
true
Tate's doing solo stuff, but it's still like I wish these bands who, I mean, like, even like a Steven Adler, he does his solo stuff.
yeah,
And he just has like Axl Rose clone singing basically, which is
yep.
cool. It sounds like him, but like, why can't these bands, if they're not getting any younger, like, why can't? I mean, is Steven Adler really that big important part of Guns N' Roses, or you wouldn't mind
Well,
seeing Guns
yeah,
N' Roses as they are type thing? For an example.
let me clarify with that Steven Adler. You got the chances of Steven Adler actually rejoining officially as a member once
You know what
more
I'm
is very
saying?
slim. Because not just of the drug issues that he had in the past, but also the fact that he slept with Axel's wife at that
But
time
would
when they was.
you? I mean, it is different each band. Or would you like the point I'm trying? There's a couple points I'm trying to make, but like the main points is, would you like to see? I mean, all the solo, like even like the one guy on even Skid Row and
Mhm.
Sebastian Bach, like
Yeah,
they tour as Skid Row, but Sebastian Bach does solo. He's not in the
exactly.
band, but he just so. I mean, wouldn't you like why haven't like Paul McCartney, fucking Ringo Starr, John Lennon's son, and someone who was close to George Harrison like get together and do this big Beatles like
Big
shouldn't like
tribute to. Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
huge. Like
It would
they
be
are
more than
older. They're super
Tommy.
old. They really are older. Like in the
Yeah,
past,
it would be.
like
You know
in
what? Let me intervene there. It would be.
Dr. Brown, real
Yeah,
quick. In the
yeah,
2000s, they were still old, but
yeah.
20 years later, it's a lot harder. You look at Ozzy. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? It's like this is the time where you want to see these groups like before, you know, they go away, but do they really go away? Will Kiss be like have a certified confirmed tribute band representing them like for the next 30, 40
I
years?
know
You know,
that's.
maybe Gene Simmons' son, a lot of these people's sons or, family members sometimes go in just like the Ronnie Van Zant thing, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But go ahead, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But
Go ahead.
but the thing is this, when a band name, established name, carries on with no original members, it's gonna leave question marks up above the heads of all the diehards who knew the band from the original beginnings there,
I
who
mean,
knew.
look, like even Stephen Piercy with Rat. Remember, he was doing some stuff in the past 10 years
Yeah.
with Ron Crusadio, bass
Yes.
player. But then recently, because I'll be listening to like interviews and stuff, he does tour just on Stephen Piercy name, like Stephen Piercy, the voice of Rat, because
Yeah.
he feels like labeling it Rat with just him and like you know, was Ron Crucier the original bass player or
Yes, he was. Yes.
okay? So
He,
yeah, so I mean, with two players, he was like, nah, like if he wants to name it Rat and tour as Rat, it needs to be Rat. So you got to tip your cap off to people like Stephen Piercy, who I mean, let's face it, like that is. I mean, the Rat. When you think of Rat, you think Stephen Piercy, the
exactly.
voice.
But let's
You
also
know what I
not
mean?
forget that drummer Bobby Blotzer had the Rat name to himself between 2014, 2016, 2017, in which he
All
was
right.
used, which he had toured as Rat with four different other guys, and many people were appalled by that. The current lineup of Quiet Riot features no original members whatsoever there. The last remaining original member was Kevin DuBrow, and he sadly passed away in 2007. Now,
Here, I'm gonna send you this article, but we're gonna save it for tomorrow.
okay, definitely.
But this is just a reminder. It's George Lynn saying that the original Dokken lineup will probably never tour again.
Yeah, it's true. But
They
that's
says,
understand. Well, that's obviously understandable because the brutal fights between Don Dokken and George Lynch here. Remember
well, they can
those?
still they still get together. Like I saw them last year. They
Yeah,
still,
true. Yeah, but
I mean, probably separate flights and stuff, but still, like they still make it work. But like George was saying, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
no,
I want to get
definitely.
back to the Skinner stuff because Arky
Well,
said he saw Skinner. Go ahead, my bad.
and to your point, I think most groups are known mainly by their vocalist.
Yeah.
The only exceptions I can think of is, well, most people know Black Sabbath by Iommi, Tommy Iommi.
So Tony
And
Iommi.
You're
Tony
right. You
Iommi.
are right.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's like if I mean Kiss, you think of
yeah,
Gene, you think of Paul too.
Yeah.
Paul being
right.
kind of the
Paul,
main vocalist.
Gene.
And
Um,
Mahogany Rush would be nothing without Frank Marino.
Exactly.
when you
And
think of Rush, who do you
Of
think
course, he
of
sang
Rush?
too.
we think of course, when we think of Rush, we think of the three main members, Neil, Alex, and Getty. Now Neil is gone, as you know, since 2020 there, but
But you know who I think? You know who I think about when I think about the Eagles?
yeah,
Joe Walsh,
Joe
Oh
Walsh.
yeah.
not a singer.
All right.
Even though he was only a member in the last 4 albums, 3
That is
albums.
true.
That's true there, yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that too. When Walsh joined the band, it was a different band.
Hmm. Yes. But we also cannot forget Don Henley. Now, and of course, Glenn Frey. Those are two of the main singers of the Eagles there. Now, they got Vince Gill and some other guy to take take Glenn Frey's place there. That is good there. But the thing is, let's not forget Don Henley is also the prime vocalist for the Eagles is just as well there next to Glenn Frey.
Yeah, but it's like Brown when I saw him right before COVID hit.
Hmm.
It's Glenn Frey's son, by the way, who is in his place, but with, obviously Vince Gill.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I don't know why.
Timothy B. Schmidt still in the group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I don't know why. That's the side I was on too, on the left side. I don't know why I didn't take as much video or any, because I was so enthralled in it. I think it was like 4-hour concert.
Wow.
They play the entire Hotel California album, and then followed by all their greatest hits after that.
Ah, interesting.
And that's why it was so long. And it sounded.
And I'm betting they did some Joe Walsh stuff too.
Oh yeah, they did. Like his 2 or 3 or 4 songs. They did everything you could think of when you think of the Eagles. They did Boys of Summer. Don Henley had his thing.
Wow,
like
that's
they did
interesting.
everything. They did everything. And let me tell
Sunset
you,
Grill's a great song too. I would love it if they
probably
did
the best
that one.
Probably the best. I mean, like the Judas Priest experience, that was probably the best. But like the Eagles experience, like when you think about sounding like they sounded 30, 40 years ago, that's the concert. I mean, the Eagles, they still vocally everything. It was expensive, but it was tremendous. It was amazing. It was. I mean, there's only a few bands that from the 30, 40, 50, 30, 40, 50 years ago, 70s, 80s, and some 90s that still sound like they did. There's a few that still left. I mean, bands like, I hear Aerosmith is great live. Iron Maiden is great live. It sounds
absolutely
tremendous. Metallica, there's a couple others, obviously like your staples of concerts, the Piano Man, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Billy Joel, and then I guess Springsteen, like all those people still doing it on that scale, selling out these arenas, sometimes stadiums.
Same thing.
When look that up real quick, Brown. When's the last time McCartney toured?
Let's see.
It's been recently.
I'd like to go to that, but that's a hot ticket. That's a pricey ticket.
One of the big ones for one of the big songs in his concert that I really enjoyed was when he did "Live and Let Die" because it had all the pyrotechnics.
Paul McCartney's last recent tour. Okay.
I think he just toured in the last year.
Mm-hmm. It was the 2022 Get Back tour. That was the last year there.
Why didn't I go to that? It's probably super expensive. It's probably like $300 for a nosebleed. Which concert nosebleed and sports nosebleeds is two way different experiences.
Yes, and by the way, go ahead.
A sports nosebleeds is pretty cool, but a concert nosebleeds, like when I went to the Trans-Siberian, it's cool and everything, but it's.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
It was still good. Oh my God, that was good. But concert season's coming up, Brown. Mm-hmm. Let's dive in real quick about the Skinny Puppy thing. Do you feel like, I have no idea who this band is, but I know it's one of your favorite bands, so you're excited about this. How old is this band? When do they come out? Why is this final tour? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know the reason for this final tour.
And are they all original? And last question, are they all original members?
Pretty much. Well, basically, the two main members were the guys who originally started back when they first started in 1982. Kevin Key and Vivek Ogre. Give me a couple of seconds here.
And Fleetwood Mac in the chat.
I think their last originals are Mick Fleetwood and John McVie.
Well, of
They'll
course,
probably never tour again either. Fleetwood Mac, as with the one chick and the dude and McFleetwood, and like obviously the one chick died too, obviously, but
yeah, Christy McVie, yeah. Now the
And
question,
actually, the only original members left are Mick Fleetwood and John McVie.
who are the basis of the name, hence the name
Right.
Fleetwood Mac.
we'll see I always forget her name.
Stevie Nicks.
Stevie
Yeah,
Nicks.
she's opening for Billy Joel
Oh wow, there.
tour
Wow.
this year, coming up here, which is, let me look that up, look at the prices on that. That was a pricey one.
That would be a good one.
Let's see.
But now going back to
'Cause she still does her solo stuff, but go ahead, Brown.
Yeah.
On that.
Now, going back to Skinny Puppy, they're going to be doing their final tour there, which is kind of surprising because they haven't really done that much since their last tour in 2015, the Down the Social Path tour there. Remember, I saw them back in Houston in November of that year, and frontman Nivek Ogre, who I always said hi to back in Detroit whenever he arrived with either Puppy or other side projects like Pigface, or when he toured with KFDM in '97. And it's like, he always said hi to me, how you doing? He was really surprised to see me back when he played Houston, because he remembered me from the Detroit gigs they used to do there.
Really?
Yes. Now, if I get tickets for the St. Petersburg gig there, he'll probably definitely be surprised, like, holy cow, it's you, man. How'd you end up here in Florida? Well, I'll explain, the situation there. He wanted to know how I was doing and everything else there, because I haven't seen him in a long while there. But he remembers me from all those Detroit gigs, And plus, now, Puppy is considered one of the big influential industrial bands, who influenced bands like Sabbath Westward, Nine Inch Nails, all these other groups like Covenant, Suicide Commando, all these other bands like Combi Christ. They had albums like Remission, Bite, Too Dark Park, Last Rites, The Process. Now, I don't know why they decided to call it quits, this time here, but they did call it quits back in 1995 amidst the arguing with their record label, the members, everything there. They had signed a major label deal that year, and they were trying to make this record called The Process, but the record company kept interfering left or right, trying to make them sound like Nine Inch Nails or Stabbing Westward, all these current groups that are out there. Sound like what's going on today. That's what you need to be like. You need to follow this trend. You need to
It's
follow
industrial,
that trend.
Brown, or not?
Yeah, absolutely there. Look up the albums that I mentioned to you, like Too Dark Park, Last Rites, Cleanseful and the Manipulate. That's the one that got me hooked on them. And I mean, also, and what it is that I guess they had released other albums after one of their members died, in '95, the same year they broke up. They finally got back together in 2003 to record a couple of albums like Greater Wrong of the Right, Mythmaker, Handover. The last record they put out was in 2013 called Weapon, almost 10 years ago to be exact there. So I'm kind of surprised, to find out that they're touring out of the blue, but to also be more surprised to find out that this is their final tour. I guess Kevin Key has a whole bunch of different projects lined up ahead. Ogre has other projects, including some underground film roles and his own band simply called Ogre. But it's I'm hoping to see them in St. Petersburg for the final time there, which will be next month sometime there. I'll definitely get the day off to check them out. And of course, Fleetwood Mac, what's going to happen with them, we do not know, because Christy McVie, as you know, passed away. They had a falling out with Lindsey Buckingham. Stevie Nicks is doing her own gig there. And what do you think? And plus, the last tour they had Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's Heartbreakers band, as well as Neil Finn from Split Enz and Crowded House.
Yeah, I can't see them touring again, especially without Nicks.
Mm-hmm.
With Nicks, they might. But
Yeah.
without her, no, I don't
Like
think
one
there's a
last-
chance of that happening.
No, they did
One
that.
last farewell tour, you know?
Now, they did that back in 1994. It was all different members, including Nick Mason. But, however, it wasn't
Dave
really
Mason.
Dave Mason, my bad. But the thing was, they released this one record that was simply called Time that same year, and it flopped miserably.
It didn't do well at all. It wasn't a good album.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, compared to their other work.
And you also got to now the thing is you got to remember there was a Fleetwood Mac before Buckingham Nicks came in the group there. That
Right,
featured
with Peter
Bob
Green.
and
Well,
Bob Welch.
actually, there's been a couple of versions.
Exactly, with Bob Welch as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's odd because there were different sounds with the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah,
And then there was different sounds with the Bob Welch Fleetwood Mac.
exactly.
And then, of course, Lindsey Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks really took them to the top.
Exactly there, and that's the Fleetwood Mac that people know to this very day. Like if you play, like for instance, if you play the original version of Green Manalishi to them, they'd be like, "Wow."
Or Black Magic Woman.
Exactly, which Santana covered it became a massive hit for them. Or better yet, the song "Oh Well" parts 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic. Look that up while on YouTube there, YR. Definitely for shizzle, man. A Detroit-based band called The Rockets covered that song on their one of their albums. I remember hearing that version back in 1979 when I first heard of that band there. But let's also keep in mind another band with only one original member left, Foghat. Drummer Roger Earl has the name, and he's touring with all new members because obviously the original lineup has passed on. The band Boston with Tom Schultz, he's the only original member left, for what I understand. Original frontman Brad Delp ended his life in 2007. I guess what it is that if got to remember that there's money to be made from the name alone. Like if Nikki Sixx had the name Motley Crue to himself, he could obviously be able to still tour with under that name with all new members, because obviously the name's going to bring in money. It's going to bring in good revenue. And remember, bands like Kiss, Crue, Leonard Skinner, they draw in big bucks because those names are very legendary.
I guess in a sense, if Styx is still touring, they're basically down to two originals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess right now, it's been a while. It's because I know that their original bass player came back to the group there along a couple of years back there. That's for sure there. So they have two bass players along with the current one they have. Tommy Shaw is not an original member, but
Nope.
I know James J.Y. Young, he's original member there. So it's basically a whole bunch of new guys, well, not necessarily new guys. I only want to know that's not necessarily new, but he took over Desi Young's place. Of course, Lawrence Gowan.
And basically, when you think of Styx, you mainly think of Tommy Shaw anyway, which is ironic because he's not original, but he was in them when they broke big.
And let's not forget Dennis DeYoung, who's still not in the current lineup. Basically, he was the one who also helped propel them to success as well, with songs like "The Best of Times," "Babe," "Lady," all those.
Dennis DeYoung and Tommy Shaw and James Young were a good combo.
They were.
They brought out differences in the group and didn't stick to the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, that any chance of DeYoung coming back to the group is very slim because, as we all detailed, he's kind of like basically he's one of those my way or the highway type of guys there. And I guess after he tried to sue the members of Styx from using the name, I guess it's best that we don't need Dennis no more.
No.
Mm-mm. And any chances of Skid Row getting Sebastian Bach into the group is very slim as well, because Bach, as you know, is a prima donna. He's one of those party hardy until you die type of guys there. And you can't really do that, when you're in your 50s or 60s there. If you try to party till you die, most likely you will end up dying either way there. And not to mention the fact that a couple members of Skid Row stated that they had to spend tons and tons of money just to keep Sebastian Bach out of jail at times there, because he was always getting in trouble left and right. I mean, yeah, he brought in a lot of good, good material. Bring a lot of power in his voice when he was with them. But who wants to deal with the aggravation of dealing with his, prima donna attitude?
Right.
Yeah, it's you got to look at all factors of this situation here. Now, like I said, Lynyrd Skynyrd has this one gig at this Strawberry Festival here in Florida. I don't know if in weeks or a month or whichever there. I guess they're going to continue on with that gig there. But whether they continue as Lynyrd Skynyrd is anybody's guess. Now, if it's going to be Johnny Van Zant's Lynyrd Skynyrd review, maybe so. They could possibly get away with that. But to continue under the name Lynyrd Skynyrd is going to bring a lot of questions. Going to bring a lot of angst from all the diehard fans who remember the original lineup. That's going to bring a lot of anger, a lot of hate from them. Let's not also forget when Tony Iommi had the name Black Sabbath to himself from the 86 to 1990. He got lots of heat from all the Sabbath diehards for doing that alone. All right. Ark, go ahead.
Are we on to the 80s or what?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do that. Let's get to that topic there.
Okay, I forgot where I left off, so
It's
I might repeat
understandable.
some
Yeah, we
people.
were so intense in this conversation, like it's hard. It was hard this quick.
Good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we did it. Absolutely, man.
Okay, I think I left off in the B's, but I'm not sure. Did I mention Bauhaus?
Oh man, there you go. We got to definitely mention them. These are guys who are kind of like the pioneers of the gothic rock scene, along with Suji and the Banshees, The Cure, Alien Sex Fiend. They had songs like the classic Bela Lugosi's Dead. They had songs like In the Left Field, Mask, their cover of Ziggy Stardust, also their cover of T-Rex's Telegram Sam. They had albums like I see the ones I mentioned, Mask, In the Left Field, and all of a sudden they broke up in 1983 for some reason. I guess they were upset with Peter Murphy's theatrics during all their live shows there. So I guess they decided to call it quits. Peter Murphy decided to become a solo artist, while the remaining members became Love and Rockets.
So Dr. Brown, in 1983, when in Anarch,
Mm-hmm.
2 questions. How much was a gallon of gas? And if you went to the grocery store, a regular trip to the grocery store and get your weekly items, how much? Because nowadays it's close to a couple $100.
I know.
When you want to get your toothpaste, your groceries, blah, blah. So like back in the day, what would you say like a grocery trip would be? And gas in that 1983's time slot there.
Oh, it was a lot cheaper than it was now. I can tell you
Really?
that there. Yeah, absolutely.
Probably spend about $40 at the grocery store, maybe 30.
Yeah,
Dang.
I know.
And a gallon of gas was, even then, was about $1.50, something like that.
Mm. I know.
I know it's kind of weird because I can remember gas under 20 cents a gallon.
Oh, man. Wow, that is a trip and a half right there, man.
In fact, they used to have what they call gas wars.
Oh,
You'd have one gas station on one corner, another on another corner. They'd both be fighting back and forth on the price. You'd drive by one day as 20 cents on one station, next day as 19 at the other, stuff like that.
Save a penny
bizarre.
like Tommy does.
Well, they don't do that kind of stuff anymore. They all generally around the same price.
Exactly.
I don't know what gas is in your areas. I'm assuming YR is about the same as me,
Yeah.
about $2.80 a gallon.
Yeah. How much is it in Florida?
I never really got a chance to check myself there. I just, but I definitely got to take a look there. I've been
Put
mostly
in $5 at. Dr. Brownie put in $5. That's Dr. Brownie put in $5. You put in $5 at a time.
No, I don't.
Not
No,
anymore.
no, I
You do
don't.
$5 at a time, you're driving to the next station.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just, it's interesting. I just put in 20 in the tank today, because I had to go out and take care of some stuff there, make some appointments for contact lenses and get an
And
oil
it's probably
change.
darn near gone.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, well, it is kind of a gas guzzler when you think about it there, the kind of car I'm driving there.
Well, one of the things I like to mention is that like 2 years ago, well, now 3, I suppose, gas was about $1.50, $1.65 a gallon.
Yeah.
Now it's $1.50 higher, and it's even hit almost $4.
Wow. No surprise. We've been hearing about this, and this was after Biden took office in the Oval Office. So
Yes.
a lot of people have been blaming Joe Biden for this, but it's not really Joe Biden's fault, to be honest with you. It was the fact that when the COVID-19 hit us from behind, or basically, I've used that term many times there, when all of us got pile drived by the pandemic, all the businesses out there had to shut down. Oil rigs, supermarkets, gas stations, beauty supply joints. Everything had to shut down. Shopping malls. So nightclubs. I mean, like, everything had to shut down. And during those months that everything was shut down, we had to stay the fuck home. We had a lot of places, a lot of businesses lost lots and lots of revenue. So I'm thinking maybe the increase in prices on all the items mentioned maybe have been done in order to make up for that lost revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a circle. I mean,
Exactly.
the price of gas and diesel are high. It costs gas and diesel to get the stuff to the store. Therefore, it's just all a circle.
Yes.
I took economics.
Yeah, and let's not forget, when I was still going to numbers, prior to the pandemic, it was about $5 every other night on the weekend, except for Fridays. That would be about $7. Every time you pay admission, it's $10 altogether for all nights. To make, like I said, to make up for the lost revenue for the employees and everything else. All right.
Okay. Do I want to move on to the next group?
Go right ahead.
Yes.
I got Beastie Boys.
Mm.
I'm not a huge fan, but you got to acknowledge the fact that they're big, very big.
Oh, man. There are 2 BC Boy records I delighted from them. License to Ill with Fight for Your Right to Party. That was a fun record to listen to there, back in the day there, which is 1986. They had Kerry King of Slayer doing the lead guitar on the No Sleep Till Brooklyn. We know the opening track, Rhyming and Stealing, featuring the beginning drum intro from When the Levee Breaks. And of course, let's not forget, they were a punk band before they got into the rap music scene. They actually made their rap debut on the hip-hop joint called Cookie Puss that was played on this radio show by Electrifying Mojo. He did a lot on his program there. Go ahead.
Well, there's a little thing here that I find interesting. They are the best-selling rap group of all time.
Really?
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 Okay.
Well, who knows? Well, you gotta remember,
I would have thought of a couple others, but
Well, you gotta remember that Ill Communication was a big hit. Check Your Head was a massive big hit, and that was in the 1990s.
Right.
Now, the only one that I don't know about the other 2 records they did afterwards, but I know my 2 favorites from them was Paul's Boutique from 1989, and like I said, License to Ill from 1986. Now, Paul's Boutique was a totally different record. People said they were going to be upset with this record, the fans would, because there's no Fight for Your Right to Party on it. but it was a total different record. It was a lot, but you know what? The grooves were awesome on that record there. Very awesome.
The next guy I got in my group, I thought started in the 90s, but apparently he started in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Beck.
Really?
I know the one song I can think of that I really liked, well, I kind of liked by him, was I'm a Loser.
Yeah, the simply called, yep, I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? That was a big hit there.
It was on the radio. It was on the radio a lot too.
Oh, it was, yeah. And that was in 90s, 1994, if I remember, yeah.
And he did a couple other follow-ups on the next album, but I forget them off the top of my head.
People do. Decent. Is now that's different from the guy who just passed, right? Jeff Beck.
Correct.
Different.
Yeah, different guy entirely.
Mm-hmm. I wonder why you would go into the music scene with a name like that when obviously Jeff Beck was older.
Basically, his real name is Beck Hansen, so he just chooses his name.
Yeah. They like to. The thing nowadays is they like to shorten their name to just one name. You know, it kind of like give it a unique taste to their.
It was like a rock rap. It was kind of like a rock rap song, kind of.
Yeah.
Right? He was in a way.
Good description.
Mm-hmm.
More like the 90s, like kind of beat, but with its rock too, and it was probably on because they did have MTV in the 90s, right? Or
well, I was trying to remember the other two songs he did that I kind of liked, and I can't remember their names.
Because I remember the video. I think it was like black and white video or something.
I know one of the most interesting stuff was from his follow-up record. I think it was called Idole, and they had other songs like Devil's Haircut.
That Devil's Haircut was one of them I was thinking of. Good song.
Yeah, and also She's Part of the New Pollution. Of course, the big hit song from that record was called Where Is That? I got two turntables and a microphone.
Yeah, I actually like that song too.
And I didn't know he started in the 80s, or did he release a few records during that decade there?
I guess so. Like I said, I have a list.
Okay.
And there are little things in it, but nothing, didn't say when he started.
I know. I'm thinking he'll probably put out some records during the 80s before he made it big the decade later there.
Okay, next guy I got. They say he's from the 70s, but I'm not sure. From the 80s. Well, I know he is. Billy Idol.
Oh, yeah. Well, he started out in the 70s in a punk band called Generation X.
Right.
And I guess when Generation X broke up, I guess he decided to go solo there. He released this one EP with the original recording of White Wedding on there. And also Dancing With Myself, his cover of Moni Moni, the Tommy James song there. And those are one of the big played songs on the radio up until Rebel Yell came out, I guess, in 83 there. That record took the heck off like crazy. The title cut, Eyes Without a Face, Flesh for Fantasy, you name it. That record went massively big.
I always say I'm not a huge fan of the 80s, but every time I mention some of these people, it's like, I liked that song. And in case of Billy Idol, I liked almost everything he did.
My sister was big on this song, Rebel Yell. Big on that track there. She loved that song to death.
Next one I got was the singer for the Ice Cubes, Bjork.
Oh, yeah. You mean the Sugar Cubes?
Sugar Cubes, that's it.
Yeah, I guess they're from Iceland. I guess they broke up.
She was bizarre, but
very bizarre. I remember this one footage of her walking off the train, in a pissed off mood. All of a sudden, some paparazzi tried to take a photo of her, and she just went. She went all She-Hulk on this photographer. And I guess later on she apologized for that. She stated that she was under a lot of stress. And it all just came out at the last moment there. But she had, I guess, one of her well-known songs was "Army and Me." That was in the Romeo and Juliet movie soundtrack from '96. There.
Okay, this guy continued through the 70s, 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and started in the 60s.
Hmm.
Bob Dylan.
Oh man. Yeah,
I
he's.
think this is when he had his converted albums, Slow Train Running.
Mhm.
Uh,
Infidels.
you gotta serve somebody.
Yep, I remember that song there. That was in the '79 when that song was played heavily.
But that's mostly his converted years, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I guess you could say that there, yeah. And he's still around today.
Yeah, some of his. No, never mind.
Okay.
Because I know these was the 70s.
Yep. Yeah. I know for a while he was born again Christian for a while, and I guess he has stopped that.
Well, that was his converted albums.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I guess he has stopped performing Christian music there. I don't know if he's still Christian, but I guess what it
Well,
was.
yeah, I'm sure he is.
Mm-hmm. But either way, I guess he's still putting out records. He's still regarded as a legend, Of course, Hendrix loved him to death. He hence the cover version of All Along the Watchtower and Like a Rolling Stone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Next on my list is Boy George and the Culture Club.
Oh my gosh. When you first saw Boy George,
It's kind of like, what?
everybody was like that. We thought is it a girl? Is it a guy? I remember telling one of our neighbors that you know that Boy George is a guy, and the neighbor was like, "What?"
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, it's like, what kind of look is that? Is he gay or something like that? Well, we all suspect he was gay because of the way he looked, obviously there. But it took years to find out officially that he was gay, and because he was dating their drummer at that time, John Moss. He had to keep that under wraps, keep that on the down low, because if they found out that they were dating each other, two guys in love with one another, it'd be like massive rejection from everybody. Homosexuality wasn't really welcome until to the 1990s. Keep that in mind.
The gay 90s.
Yeah,
I
exactly. That's the same. That same.
That saying was for the 1890s, but hey, it means something totally different in the 1990s.
Yeah, because now, nowadays when somebody comes out of the closet, we're like, we knew that. Like for example, Rob Halford with Judas Priest. He was afraid to come out of the closet until 1998 because he was afraid how would people react that the biggest metal singer of all time was gay.
Yeah, most of us nowadays have come to accept it. It's you are what you are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But back in the 80s, things were like totally different.
You
Halford,
should have seen it in the 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah,
like, holy crap!
I'm not surprised. I would not be surprised at all, man.
And let's see, next one on my list. Well, he was still doing stuff in the 80s. His now, I guess, Bruce Springsteen.
Oh yeah. Oh, he definitely made it big with Born in the USA. That's for sure. Now, prior to Born in the USA, he had this record called Nebraska. And the story was on that is that he first recorded that with his E Street Band. When he listened back to the whole album, he did not like it one bit. He didn't like the way the songs were performed or how the production would sound. So what he did is he took the songs, recorded them all by himself, just him singing with his guitar, just, kind of an unplugged thing there, but plugs nonetheless.
Right.
And he decided, you know what, this is even a lot more better than what we did with the E Street Boys here. So he released it as it is, and songs like Atlantic City, State Trooper, and the title Cut, that was a very interesting album there. He put it out.
Right. Next on my list is another big 80s band, B-52s.
Yeah, Rock Lobster, Private Idaho, Love Shack.
They were kind of an interesting band, you might say.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny is that, it fits to say that years before Freddie Mercury, their guitar player, Ricky Wilson, was the music's first AIDS casualty. Apparently, he died from that in 1985 there. They released one record afterwards that was recorded prior to Wilson's death, but they didn't tour because they were so distraught over this guy's death. And they came back a couple years later and came back real big with Love Shack, Rome. I guess they're still together today, I guess, if I'm correct.
Next one on the list for the 80s, I thought people quit listening to him in the late 70s, Cat Stevens.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know if he put it out.
Or are you still Islam?
Islam, yeah, that was the name he gave himself after he converted to that religion there. I remember back in around, I guess, 1989 was not a good year for the guy because I guess he said some sort of comments regarding, defense of the Ayatollah Khomeini, if that's his last name is pronounced. I'm not big on pronouncing Middle Eastern names there. But I guess this had involved in that book, The Satanic Verses, which Saddam Rushdie, he went into hiding years ago because, the Ayatollah from Iran placed a death sentence on him for writing that book. I guess what I understand, the book was condemning of Islam, its religion, and its practices, if I'm correct. If it isn't, feel free to let me know.
I don't think it was more of a condemnation. It was kind of a explanation, not from the inside, but from the outside, sort of. This is the way it really is, and when people saw that, it was kind of like, ooh. And so that was what kind of set the Ayatollah off.
I know. I mean, like, the only time he made a public appearance was on the one on stage with the band U2 back in 1991 or 92 there.
Right. Next one on the list had a string of pretty decent songs, I thought. Chris Isaak.
And we know his big one, Wicked Game.
Yeah. Some pretty good stuff. It's funny, the more I look into this, the more I think, well, the 80s were pretty decent. Like I said, I'm a child of the 60s and 70s, but 80s had good stuff too.
Well, the 80s, wait a minute. Well, because the 80s had a lot of different textures. The 80s had a lot of different styles thrown into it. You had this artist and this group, come up with this original sound, that original sound there, like the Rockabilly, the Stray Cats, Jimmy and Mustangs. Rockabilly came back, for a good long period there, for a couple of years there, thanks to the Stray Cats there.
Okay, next one I got on my list is The Clash.
Oh my gosh. The only band that matters. That's what many people have referred to them as. Sanatesia, London Calling, songs like A Train in Vain, the title cut from London Calling, Lost in the Supermarket, and of course we cannot forget the two big ones. Excuse me there. Should I Stay or Should I Go? And Rock the Casbah.
And I think they did a cover of I Fought the Law, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And I believe that's the first time I heard their music on the radio, believe it or not, from there. Now, keep in mind, there's one record that they put it out before finally called it quits altogether there. It was called Cut the Crap. At this point, it was Joe Strummer, rest in peace, and Paul Simonon, their bass player. They had fired everybody, including their guitar player, Mick Jones, for some oddball reason. But they got 3 new members. There was a 5-piece instead of a 4-piece. And I guess the people did not accept this particular Clash people say Cut the Crap was not that good of a record.
Right.
Because it just, wasn't the Clash that we knew and that we know and love, pretty much there. The Clash are one of the first bands, to mix reggae with their punk there, and many times with songs like Straight to Hell. I mean, they were like considered. I'm going to quote something that I think it may have been someone from the Ramones may have said, whether it's Johnny or Dee Dee or Joey or whichever. It said that Ramones were a good band, the Sex Pistols were a good band, the Clash, however, were a great band. And I also encourage everybody to check out a documentary that I saw on the VH1 Classic channel called The Rise and the Fall of the Clash. Definitely watch it, and you'll learn the whole Clash story there. Definitely, for sure.
Okay, the next one's mentioned on the list. I did some stuff in the 80s, but they weren't as big as they were in the 70s, and that's Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Oh, yeah, we know the song. I know the song Southern Cross, Wasted on the Way. That was one of the last big hits there before, I guess, David Crosby started having his drug issue problems there.
Yeah.
And
I've seen them a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them once with Young and once without Young.
Oh, they did do the reunion album with Young called, I guess, American Dream in 88 there. I remember hearing the title cut for that.
Yeah, that was a pretty decent song, I thought.
Yeah, pretty not too bad there, thank goodness.
Yeah, it was a Neil Young song.
Yep, mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, he sang on it.
That's true there. We don't know who wrote it, but probably... go ahead.
Oh, probably Neil Young if he sang it. Because he usually sang his own. Stills usually sang his own.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And the last C I got is The Cure.
Big band in the 80s. Let's Go to Bed. Fascination
She's
Street.
the Sanctuary.
No, that was a Cult.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I got them mixed up.
That's understandable because they both start with the letter C there, by the way. And, of course, the C and
similar
U.
names.
Yep, absolutely. There. The Cure had Fascination Street, Prayers for Rain, The Saying, Deep, Deep Water Is You. And, of course, which is a very mesmerizing track there when you listen to it. In fact, they had songs like Let's Go to Bed, what's called Let's Go for the Walk. And basically, they're one of the first goth rock bands to basically, to express their depressiveness out onto the open air. I mean, like a lot of the songs kind of like had that depressive state into they add a little bit of depression onto it from the singer's viewpoint there. But they had a lot of songs like, as I mentioned there, Fascination Street, Homesick, stuff like Hey, 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 Hot, Hot, Hot. And of course, the fight song, I guess it was, or a fight song it was. I forgot it was. But I remember a buddy of mine, his name was Grubbed. Go ahead.
Yo.
I hear you.
Yeah, this is Grub. How you doing? This is your old buddy from the 80s, Grub. What's up?
That was like, I didn't know the guy until the 90s, believe it or not. And
my bad. The 90s. I remember you, Doctor. I remember you, Dr. Earl. You remember you, Skinny Puppy. You used to wear that T-shirt. And this is Grub. How you doing?
Gosh, anyways, we also got to get to the Cult while we're at it.
Did he roll joints for you around?
Well, I don't know. I think he ever did drugs. I don't do drugs, as you know. And
joints isn't a drug. It's a medicine. Come on.
Well, I don't do either.
You know what they say. Yeah. An apple a day keeps the dentist away. So, when you... quick question. This is totally off subject, but it is music related. Marty Freeman, is he the original
guitar
one of the
player.
original guitarists of Megadeth, or he was
No,
put in later?
no,
Okay,
I'm not
because they're
too
making a big deal out of it. Like he joined Megadeth on few songs and a few concerts recently with Megadeth. They brought him on stage, so like they're making a huge deal out of it. So explain when he
well.
was none he wasn't on any of those albums in the 80s, like nothing like that.
Well, the other guitar players in the Megadeth other than Mustaine was Chris Poland, Jeff Young, and I guess Freeman joined. I guess in 1990. I guess it was.
Oh,
Yeah, for
that's when
Rust
they
in
came.
Peace.
Yeah, didn't they have Hanger 19 on that one or something?
Yes, they had. Yes, Rust in Peace, along with Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, and that's considered
Mm.
one of the essential Megadeth albums. There,
When did Davey Bowie pass?
he passed away in 2016.
Okay, well then he definitely was a big one in the 80s.
For Shizzle. Let's
Isn't,
let's
isn't that
stand.
when he did Let's Dance and China Girl and
Yep.
those songs? Scary Monsters?
hmm
Or was that late 70s?
Well, the Scary Monsters was in 1980.
When I get excited, Dr. Brown says, "Oh, baby, you shut your mouth."
But I guess that song was originally meant. Iggy Pop originally did that song. I guess those two wrote it together, if I understand. But Bowie,
There was another song in that album that was pretty good.
Cat People,
Uh, Fashion?
Fashion. The Fashion was on the Scary Monsters. That's it. That was another big one there.
That's the album I was talking about.
Yep, goody good. And let's not forget. I think it was called Look. No, that was on the previous record. Scary Monsters. That record had Fashion, Ashes to Ashes. Great song, which is about a person dealing with heroin issues. And let's not also
All in all,
forget.
some pretty good stuff.
Oh yeah, but back to Bowie. He also did a couple other movies as well, like Labyrinth in '86. There, he wrote the.
Oh yeah, he was good in that actually.
I saw that with my
And that's where we
ex-girlfriend.
first got introduced to Jennifer Connelly.
Yep, exactly. There, he also appeared in other movies.
Of course, we didn't know how she was going to turn out later. What did we?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But he also.
She didn't give any indication in that movie that those things were going to sprout out like that.
Yeah. Or let alone that movie be a cult. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, let alone that movie being a cult classic, especially viewed after Bowie's passing. Let's not also forget.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah. Let's not also forget the other movies appearances he did. He had appearance in the movie Into the Night with Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Pfeiffer. He also was in a movie called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. I guess around the 80s era just as well there. And he also did a Broadway production of The Elephant Man around 1980-81 there. So he's just not only is he a great musician and a great singer, but also he's also a great actor as well.
Yeah. Next one on my list is a little band called Devo.
Oh yeah, De-Evolution. That's what the name stands for. And these are the guys who come out with their oddball version of Satisfaction, the Stones tune there. They first started wearing these orange suits like they worked at a nuclear plant, and they had these. I remember seeing this one special that goes way back in '78 there when the first record came out. They had a guy portraying a general known as General Boy, and he had this guy with some sort of weird, a mask up there. They call him a boogie boy or something like that. And
Boogie Board.
boogie boy, or
Are
what
we
it
not
was.
men?
We are Devo.
We
You
are
remember that
Devo.
song? Yeah. By the way, the title of that song was called Jocko Homo. That's the name of this.
Right.
Yes, exactly. They had another record. Yeah. You know what? There was this one classmate in one of the schools I went to. He had a picture disc of that whole album. You know what? If you were to find that picture disc today, you will be man. You will be in. That's worth
Well,
money.
it's the beer. Dr. Brown, can you shut your door to your room so you don't disturb the whole house, please?
My door is shut.
All right, just making sure.
Yeah, whip it. Whip it good.
Oh, that's the main song they always go for. That's for sure there. But there's other songs out there like
Oh, yeah.
Peekaboo. You know,
They
that's
did a
good.
tour recently.
Yeah.
Dude, they toured recently.
Yeah. And I guess one of the members, Mark Mothersbaugh, I guess he composes films for various Nickelodeon shows, I guess, if I'm
Yes.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I guess one of their other members, Jerry Castell, who passed away years back there, he directed one of the Foo Fighters videos. But, you know...
Okay, next one I got on my list started in the 70s, but he continued through the 80s. Elton John.
And he's still continuing to this day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw him with Billy Joel on tour.
I remember you mentioned that, the
They
Piano
played
Men
the same,
tour.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's
Good
kind of
concert.
It was very unique. They would try to do each other's tunes there at times there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now
That
Elton.
was kind of one of the big cornerstones of the concert.
Yep. Yeah, what's kind of funny is that Elton really had a lot of hits during the early 1980s, like "Kiss the Bride." That's why they called the blues. "I'm Still Standing." You know, he had this one tribute song to his pal John Lennon called "Hey Hey Johnny, Empty Garden."
Right.
"Blue Eyes" was a good one there. And I guess
Little Jeannie came out in the 70s, didn't it?
it came out in 1980. I was
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I knew it was close.
I remember hearing that
That
a
was a
couple
good song. I like that one.
It was, I remember hearing that song, a lot of when it was first came out. I remember it was on the beach with my mom, for my birthday in 1980 when that song came out. And I was listening to it and just looking out into the distance where the water was. About a few days later, I had my allowance money. I picked up the album that it came on. 30, 22 at 30, 21 at 33, I think it may have been called there at that time. It had other songs
It
like...
was the best song in the album, but
yeah. I didn't really play it that much. But some other songs were kind of like, okay with me. But Little Genie was the one that struck out for me. Other than the opening track, Chasing the Crown. But, he really made it big back in the 80s as well there with the songs that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Dr. Brown, did you ever, in the 80s, maybe even the 90s, did you ever have the Converse Chuck Taylor All-Stars shoes?
No. My shoes were mostly black. I forgot which brand they were at that time there. Remember, this is ages ago.
I like to ask y'all random questions about the time, just don't mind me.
That's cool.
That's good there, yeah.
It kind of gives a relation to the era.
Exactly, and also gives a gateway to the people out there who are young today how things were back then.
Would you rather have the 90s? Would you rather go back to the 90s, the simpler times, or you like the newer times of now, technology and everything?
Well, I'd
probably rather go back to the 70s. I did like the 60s too.
Yeah. I would like to go back to the 80s there, but have some of the technology that we have today. So we can have a videotape and then look on years later on down the line. Well, it's not. By the way, speaking of today's technology, Wire, if you ever saw the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, if you haven't, we all recommend that you do so. There's one scene where there's a couple scenes in there where they communicate with someone long distance, like we do on Skype.
Yes.
And on Zoom TV. And there's also one scene where they're eating, having some sort of dinner there while they're watching themselves on being interviewed by a British journalist, and they have tablets in front of them. And what do we have
The
nowadays?
fun thing about that movie is it's kind of one of those that you got to really get into because it's hard to understand.
I mean, there's videos out there trying to explain the theory of HAL 9000, believe it or not. Trying to explain everything there. The only other movie that comes close to that was the 1980 Shining. Plus all the Star Wars movies that's been out there.
Next one on my list is Elvis Costello.
And the attractions. Pump It Up. Armed Forces. Accidents Will Happen. Songs like Punch the Clock. He had a lot of big hits in the early 80s there, I guess. He was like one of the.
I'm trying to remember on one of the bands that I was in, we covered one of his songs. Allison.
Interesting. I think I remember hearing that song there. I remember it was the only time we all know him by his look, the black rimmed glasses, the suit and tie, and everything there. The Fender Jaguar guitar there, and believe it or not, in 1990 he changed his whole look. He grew his hair out, grew a beard, wore a different type of glasses there. I guess but after a year and a half after that, he kind of put that look aside and returned to his main look there. And basically, he put out a lot of good stuff there. What was it? A Man Out of Time, I guess one of his bigger played songs there on the radio.
And there was a song that Linda Ronstadt covered, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
Let's see. I don't know.
What about, weren't you a janitor in a radio station in 1987?
No.
That would have been cool.
No, I wasn't even working at a radio station at that time. I was working doing my old restaurant gig there.
You never were in the music business?
I never was what?
In the music business?
Well, the only thing, I wasn't part of a radio show that broadcasted Saturday afternoons from the University of Windsor in Windsor, Ontario. From 1994, I was invited on by a guy who lived there. His name was Tim, and we met at the City Club. We met a few times at a place called the Cathedral. And we talked, we spoke, how he told me he had this radio show. He liked to invite me over. So I went there at the University of Windsor. We talked, he introduced me, we talked on the air, this and that, played tunes from bands like Incubus, Succubus, Christian Death, a little bit of cult here and there. This was the dark side kind of scene there.
It was on the internet?
No, it was on radio. It was a small unit radio that you had to be right up close to the Ambassador Bridge or the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel to even hear, because any chance you hear that in Roseville or St. Clair Shores, no chance.
Yeah, I visited a radio station when I was in college, 69, 70, somewhere in that range.
Wow.
And DJ, we just talking about music and all, because this is when a lot of the heavy underground stuff was coming out. He played me a cut-off Savoy Brown, Raw Sienna, I think it is, or maybe the album before that, called Louisiana Blues. And the radio station had great sound places, tunnels, equipment, the whole bit. And when he played that song, it was like, I like this group. It was incredible.
Wow.
If you ever get a chance, you need to hear Louisiana Blues by Savoy Brown.
All right there. Definitely, for sure, man.
My last E group is the Eurythmics.
Oh.
Sweet Dreams Are Made of This.
Also, Love is a Stranger. Touch Me Like Lovers Do. Here Comes the Rainy Guy. That's the name of the song. It's also, let's not forget...
Sorry, that's my...
ringtone.
That's my wave tone.
And we know the song in the background, that's for sure there.
Sixx.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite song by them.
Mm-hmm. Great song by them.
But that's my current ringtone. I
Nice.
change it. And I make my own ringtones.
All right, now keep in mind the Rhythmics had other hits like "Must Be an Angel," "On My Shoulder," "Would I Lie to You." They had other songs. In
And
fact,
Annie Lennox had quite a few of her own.
exactly, and she has one powerful voice. Keep that in mind. And she was also, I guess, to say the one of the first females to sport a buzz cut haircut out to the open there. Because when we first saw her in that Sweet Dreams video, her hair was short. It was orange there. It's like unique look for her when you think about it there. And let's also not forget the band her and Dave Stewart were involved in called The Tourists. I saw a video from them on another video music show. I think it was called Pop Clips that ran on Nickelodeon before that network got big. I guess it was just started at that time. It was on.
Dr. Brown, that's not the real Danny. It's a troll, I think.
All right there. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get.
Dr. Brown, that's not the real Danny. It's a troll, I think.
All right there. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get him on the call here and find out for sure. I always like to do that. And he got it wrong here. "Walking in the Moon" by Sixx. The "Walking on the Moon" was by the Police.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, a troll would
Thank you.
say something like that.
Exactly.
It's not
there.
Danny.
All right there. All right. So I guess it'll be tonight. We'll continue this tomorrow night with a look at all the bands and artists from the 1980s there. Now, will Keith be on tomorrow, I guess?
I think Keith passed. We'll have to see where he is.
Oh, gosh. All right. So I know. It's the way you first said it. It's like, oh,
Sorry,
geez,
I thought that was funny.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I thought that was funny.
He passed
I know,
gas,
I know.
Passed gas, Brian.
Oh, okay. I would be surprised he would start doing that on their show. Let alone they're going pee in front of so everyone can hear. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of weird.
Oh, yeah. Now, but then again, you never know what you can expect. But then again, I was on the episode of Monetize This with Joe Cronin, and all of a sudden, JB started barfing while his mic was on.
I thought that was Tommy.
No, that's another one there. But either way there, I think he doesn't barf that much no more. I guess he stopped drinking, for a while there. But either way, we'll continue our discussion tomorrow night. And for Arknloia and myself, you guys have a good one, all right? And we'll see you back then, all right? Same time, same station.
We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Correct there. And we continue. And we'll also have some other things to talk about as well there. All right? We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you as well,
Bye.
dudes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.